Call to order the May meeting of the Oxford Planning Commission. Commissioners, you have the agenda before you. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda from staff or the commission? Nope. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes from the April meeting? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the April meeting.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Ben, do we have a staff report today? Thank you, sir. Just note that we had one administrative approval that was approved by staff, and we have one case on the consent agenda. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on the case for the consent agenda? If not, is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That brings us to our first public hearing, which will be case number 3079, Corey Auger Designs for a variance from stormwater ordinance for property located at 401 East Jackson Avenue.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening.
Good. So this is similar to a variance request as we were brought to you a couple of times. The minimum orifice size that is required by our stormwater ordinance is 3 inches from an outlet discharge structure. In this case, that minimum orifice, the 2-year storm is not met for the post-development discharge by 0.01 CFS. So we would rather have the 3-inch orifice and they can have the 0.01 CFS. So we recommend that that variance be issued.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the commission? Anyone from the audience like to speak? If not, is there a motion on the variance?
Motion to approve the variance.
A motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Variance is granted. Thank you, sir. That brings us case number 3072. Auger Design Studios has filed a request for site plan approval for property located at 401 East Jackson Avenue. Ben?
Thank you. Same piece of property, and y'all, I'm sure are familiar with this as this has come before the commission earlier this year. The property is located between the Courtyard Marriott and now Sammy's Gourmet Deli and Hero. The property measures about 0.27 acres. It's zoned traditional neighborhood business, and the applicant was granted that special exception to allow for a total of 16 bedrooms at this site. The applicant is proposing a mixed-use building. It consists of 3 floors. The building area is about 17,253 square feet. Ground floor consists with about 537 square feet of commercial space, with the remainder being used for parking and other uses like trash storage and a riser room. It will also contain a lobby with an elevator. The second and third floors consist each of 3 residential units, 2 2-bedroom units, and 1 3-bedroom unit per floor. Those measure about 5,751 square feet. The use, it's a mixed-use building, which is certainly allowed in the zoning district. The applicant sought the special exception for additional density. 15 parking spaces are required for the residential units, plus 1 for the commercial element of this building, so a total of 16 spaces are required, and those have been provided. The application complies with the coverage requirements, building height, building materials, sidewalks, and connectivity, also the landscaping provisions of the ordinance. Engineering did provide comments related to access, water, sewer, and stormwater, and staff recommends approval of the requested site plan with the 5 conditions noted in the staff report.
Thank you, Ben.
The applicant's here and able to take, also the engineer's here, and so able to take any questions that you might have.
Any questions from the commission? I had a question just occur to me on the parking, which is that with the 1 required for the commercial, I mean, that's overall parking for a mixed-use structure. Is there any expectation that the parking would be a general pool versus, for example, putting up signage that 15 of the spaces are only available to the residential portion?
No, sir, there's nothing in the land development code that would require or stipulate that that would be delineated.
Or that it wouldn't be either?
Or that it wouldn't be, that's right.
Okay, just clarifying, thanks. Any other questions? Anyone from the audience? All right, hearing no further discussion, is there a motion on the site plan for 401 East Jackson?
Motion to approve the site plan. with
Motion.
5 conditions.
Motion to approve with the 5 staff conditions, is there a second? Second. There's a second, all in favor? Aye. All right.
Thank you.
That takes us to case number 3080. Oxford Farms LLC has filed a request for special exception as provided in section 3.5.1.2.c, dwellings detached, districts allowed for the reserve, phase 2, property located at 1811 Reserve Loop.
Robert's going to take this one, he's virtual.
All right, go ahead, Robert.
Okay. Subject property is a little over 49 acres, located on Oxford Farms Drive, north of the roundabout on Oxford Way, between the Reserve Phase 1 and the Stillwater development. The applicant was approved April for the second phase of the reserve, which will consist of 140 attached and 75 detached units of a similar style to the Reserve Phase 1. This special exception request is to satisfy condition of approval of the site plan. The property is located in neighborhood residential, and in those districts, detached units of more than 4 bedrooms are special exceptions, and the applicant is proposing that all 75 of the detached units will be 4-bedroom. 4-bedroom units are consistent with the other developments in Oxford Farms, especially with Stillwater and the Reserve Phase 1, which flanked this phase and were previously granted 4-bedroom units. Additionally, as these units will have garages, parking for these 4-bedroom units is sufficient. As such, staff recommends approval of the requested special exception with the condition that approval is for the plan as submitted.
Thank you, Robert. We had a little bit of trouble with the volume at the beginning, so just to repeat, the crux of this special exception is to allow the 75 detached units to be 4-bedroom units. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Questions from the commission? Questions or comments from the audience? All right. Is there a motion on the special exception for the 4-bedroom units in case number 3080?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve with the 1 staff condition.
Some staff condition.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor? Aye. All right, special exception is granted. That takes us to case number 3081. Oxford Farms LLC has filed a request for final plat approval for the Reserve Phase 2 for the same property.
Okay, yes. This subject property is 68.41 acres located north of Oxford Way. Same location. The applicant is proposing 2 lots with a subdivision, a 52.5-acre lot that will be the root site of the Reserve Phase 2, and as well as the right-of-way of the currently a private Oxford Farms Drive, and then a little over 7-acre lot that encompasses the T&D and suburban multifamily areas to the northeast of the roundabout, as well as a small sliver of it, neighborhood residential. Both lots meet the dimensional requirements for the underlying zoning. And engineering provided some general comments as well as those regarding utilities and stormwater. And staff recommends approval of the requested final plat with the 5 conditions that are listed in your report.
Thank you, Robert. Are there any questions from the commission on the plat?
What are the technical revisions on stipulation 3? Subject to necessary technical revisions?
If there's like an easement or something that engineering or planning require, then we would just have those technical changes added to the plan.
So in this case, nothing specific, but a catch-all just in case? Okay. Other questions?
The operation and maintenance plan, is this is, it looks like the you're talking about the stormwater management on stipulation 5. Is this like we test the stormwater management now, is that what that is?
So the operation and maintenance plan is submitted, after the stormwater management plan is approved. It's basically just outlining how the owner will maintain the stormwater management facility, for as long as it's there. It's required for all the stormwater management facilities.
Excellent.
In-
And if you would refresh my memory on the Oxford Farm Drive going north to the hospital.
Yes, sir. I think there was a TIF that was approved by the city for that road to be constructed. I think there have been ongoing conversations with the hospital about that road being constructed. I think requirement for some easements. So I don't know that there's a time frame on when that will be constructed, but there are still ongoing conversations about that.
So it's not set in stone.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions? Anyone from the audience wish to speak? Just a note to the commission, this is a plat, so we're a recommending body to the Board of Aldermen. Is there a motion to recommend the final plat for approval to the Board of Aldermen?
Recommend approval subject to the 5 staff conditions.
There's a motion to approve, subject to staff conditions. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, it's recommended for approval. Which brings us to the plat amendment. Case number 3082, Calicut Land has filed a request for a plat amendment to Oxford Farms Phase 2, Lot 2, property located at 319 Cottage View.
All right, subject property is Lot 2 of Oxford Farms Phase 2, which is located south of Farmview Drive and measures approximately 6.5 acres. This lot is the site of the cottages, which was previously approved in February of 22. The applicant has returned to make some minor adjustments to the plat. This amendment will remove a portion of the utility easement shown on the original plat, add an ingress-egress easement for the Creekside condominiums to the north, and revise the drainage easement and add some stormwater language. This lot will still meet the dimensional requirements of the zoning, and the constructed buildings, as well as those planned, will still comply with the setbacks and massing provisions, provided they are constructed according to the approved site plan. Mississippi subdivision law requires that the applicant proposing any change in a platted subdivision notify all the persons to be adversely affected thereby or directly interested herein, and it requires the signature of approval of the proposed modification. Identification of who such persons may be is left at the discretion of the applicant. For this request, the applicant has provided a letter from the one party determined to be adversely affected or directly interested, stating that they do not object. Engineering provided some general comments as well as those regarding stormwater, and staff recommends approval with the 4 conditions that are listed in your report.
Thank you, Robert. So these are primarily changes that we requested, is that right, from engineering?
As far as the stormwater, detention pond, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, the pond will serve both of these developments, so it's just a way to divide ownership between the 2 parties.
And the ingress egress? The easement for the ingress egress?
That's just provide access to Creekside to their drive.
Okay, I see. Any other questions from the commission? Questions or comments from the audience? You have a question?
Yeah, this would be rather obvious answer, but I'll know it. All these, they're all going to share the same detention basin,
Yes, sir.
but I mean, they individually would be satisfied. I mean, in other words, we're not going to say it satisfies merely for this one and then.
Correct. The stormwater report will be reviewed for all developments that are discharged into that pond. So all of them will have ownership, will have maintenance responsibilities of it, but the pond is designed for all of those developments.
All right. Is there a motion on case number 3082 for the plat amendment?
I move that we grant final plat approval with 4 staff conditions.
It's a motion to approve, subject to staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second, all in favor? Aye. All right, our next case is case number 3083. Marlo Moy has filed a request for, this has multiple parts. First is a special exception is provided in section 5.7.9 stormwater design standards. Second part is a special exception is provided in section 2.6.9 ground floor residential. And the third part is a special exception is provided in section 2.6.9 build-to line maximum for Marlowe condos, property located at 2096 Old Taylor Road. Okay.
Right, so as JR just read for you guys, the applicant seeks approval for 3 special exceptions, which we broke down for you in your staff report as A, B, and C. The first is for stormwater design standards. I'm sure John can go into more detail on this if you guys have questions, but the special exception would allow for vertical interior walls and the proposed detention basin to be vertical. And the engineering staff is supporting the special exception with final approval of the site stormwater management report and operation and maintenance plan. Item B is the special exception for ground floor residential. 3 buildings are proposed on the site, 2 which will be fully residential if the special exception is approved, and 1 mixed use with a commercial ground floor. Mixed use as well as multifamily residential buildings are allowed structure types in the suburban center district. The applicant seeks approval for ground floor residential in the 2 fully residential buildings. As noted in the information provided by the applicant, the property is neighbored on one side by a multifamily residential building with a commercial building on the other side. And staff has not received feedback from the public either for or against the special exception application. And then for the last proposed special exception for the build-to line maximum, the applicant seeks a 8.29 foot variance to the front yard build-to requirements. Up to 150 feet is allowed by special exception in the suburban center district. As noted in the application, there's an existing parking area that, along with the location of the existing surrounding buildings, will dictate the location of the new buildings. And staff has also not received feedback either for or against this special exception. So staff is recommending approval of all 3 special exceptions with 2 conditions.
Thank you, Kate. Questions from the commission on any of the 3 special exceptions? I have one. John, on the vertical walls for the stormwater, the code requires a fence around the stormwater pond, is that right? Yeah, so there'll be protection to keep people out. All right. Yes. Other questions? Anyone from the audience have any questions or comments? All right. If there is no further comment, we'll vote on these individually. Is there a motion on the special exception for the stormwater design?
I make a motion to approve the special exception for the stormwater design.
There's a motion to approve. Are there? All right. With staff conditions, we'll do each one.
Yeah, with staff conditions.
With staff conditions, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Is there a motion on the special exception for ground floor residential?
Motion to approve
It's a motion to approve with staff conditions?
with staff conditions.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And is there a motion on the special exception for the build-to line maximum?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff conditions.
There's a motion to approve with staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Those special exceptions are granted, which brings us to case number 3084 for the same property, site plan approval.
Okay, so this is a site plan for the same property. The property measures around 1.42 acres and is located off of Highway 6, west of the Old Taylor Road intersection. The applicant seeks site plan approval for 2 multi-story residential buildings and 1 mixed use with a commercial ground floor, 2-story building. Regarding use and parking requirements, the applicant received the necessary special exception to locate residential units on the ground floor of buildings 1 and 2. 15 total 3-bedroom units are proposed with around 2,324 square feet of commercial space. Parking is calculated at 2 spaces per 3-bedroom unit plus 1 guest space per unit and 1 space for each 300 square feet of commercial space. So the 56 spaces provided meet those requirements. The property is compliant with the requirements of the code for coverage, height, and setbacks, as well as architecture and building materials. The necessary foundation plantings, edge plantings, parking lot trees, et cetera, are shown on the plan. And the site plan also includes a pedestrian sidewalk throughout the site. And the site is connected to the other neighboring office buildings through an existing private road. Engineering provided comment regarding access, water and sewer, and stormwater. And staff is recommending approval of the site plan with 7 conditions.
Thank you, Kate. Questions from the commission? All right. Any questions or comments from the audience? Is there a motion on case number 3084 for the site plan?
I move that we accept the site plan review as presented with the, I guess that would be 6 conditions now then, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to specify which 6? All right, there's a motion to approve subject to the 6 conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All right. Site plan is approved.
It's item 2 for the record. If anyone cares. Yeah.
Whew, it's a tough crowd. All right, our next case is case number 3078. Grand Oaks Incorporated has filed a request for preliminary and final plat approval for 2000 Barron Street.
Okay, the subject property is located off of Grand Oaks Boulevard on Highway 7. It includes the entirety of Barron Street and the Lyles Drive intersections. The applicant seeks preliminary and final plat approval. Measuring around 13.42 acres, the land will be divided into 2 lots measuring 11.43 acres and 0.92 acres, with 1.07 acres set aside for future stormwater detention. The proposed lots meet the underlying zoning requirements of the Suburban Corridor District. Staff is recommending approval of the preliminary and final plat with 4 conditions.
All right. Questions or comments on the preliminary or final plat? Anyone from the audience? If not, is there a motion from the commission on the preliminary and final plat?
Make a motion to approve subject to the 4 staff conditions.
Motion to approve, subject to the 4 staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, it's approved. Taking us to case number 3086, Marketplace has filed a request for special exception as provided in section 2.6.7.1, districts allowed liquor store for LTNB district for property located at 2712 Pat Patterson Parkway. Okay.
The subject property measures approximately 1.7 acres and is zoned legacy traditional neighborhood business. The applicant was approved for and built the marketplace that's existing on the site. The applicant returns to the commission requesting a special exception to allow a retail liquor store in this location. In March of 2024, the Mayor and Board of Aldermen approved a modification to the Land Development Code to allow a liquor store or restaurant that serves alcohol to be requested by a special exception in the legacy traditional neighborhood business district. The applicant states that the retail liquor store will be consistent with various other retail and service uses in close proximity to the site. And staff agrees with the applicant that this type of retail business is consistent with other businesses in the vicinity, especially when one could locate on the south side of Anderson Road. So should the commission determine that the requested use will not adversely affect the public interest, staff is recommending approval of the requested special exception. We have not received feedback positively or negatively regarding the special exception request.
All right, thank you. Is there any question, are there any questions or discussion from the commission? Yes, sir, if you'd like to speak.
Good afternoon, evening. I'm Jeffrey Hollis, and I've spent time in the neighborhood. I've got 14 signatures that all are in favor of having the special exception approved.
Okay, thank you, sir. Can you submit those for the record, please? Thank you. Any questions for the applicant, or? All right. Anyone else from the audience like to speak on this topic? If not, is there a motion from the commission on the special exception for districts allowed?
I'll make a motion to approve the special exception.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
It's granted. Thank you, sir. Our next case is case number 3087. Mohammed Katalo has filed a request for a special exception as provided in section 3.8.14.2.b, districts allowed vehicle repair and maintenance for property located at 2100 South Lamar Boulevard.
Yeah, this property is located on the south side of South Lamar and Highway 6. It's the y'all may have seen it. I'm sure you've driven by it 100 times. The Marcus Chevron in the back. There's a sold service shop, and I think years ago it was used as a service shop. In fact, I think it probably had an inspection sticker there at one point in my life. But more recently, it's been used as a U-Haul store, and so the applicant would like to transform this building back into a vehicle repair shop, specifically for tires. So therefore he submitted the special exception request that's before you. While there is a certain number of criteria here that's listed, it's not directly addressed in the application, but based on our conversations, I believe that he plans to comply with all of the requirements that are noted inside of this application, or at least these requirements. They do note that they will dispose of all old tires and comply with all environmental regulations. They state that they believe that it will be in harmony with the character of the neighborhood as it offers a service that complements the adjacent service station use and provides a needed service without generating significant noise or traffic. The proposed building is located at the rear of the property, and it's in close proximity to the hotel that is back there. And so in the staff report, it did take a look at a couple other tire repair facilities in Oxford, one on University Avenue, which is right next to the Sola Apartments. It's immediately adjacent to it. And then also Gateway Tire, which is on Jackson Avenue, which is also next to a hotel, and it backs into, or at least a residential use backs into it. I'm unaware of any complaints in my tenure with the city. I've never received a complaint related to sound within proximity to those uses, but I do note the hours of operation for those businesses, 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and that's not anything that's really noted in the application, but it might be something that the commission wants to consider, having hours of operation being consistent, given that you are close to at least a hotel and people would be sleeping. So we do should the commission determine that the requested use will not adversely affect the public interest, then staff recommends approval of this special exception.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, you bet.
Questions from the commission?
So if we wanted to say it was 5:30 or 6, how do we?
We can just, I think we can just put a condition on the recommendation that either that it's generally the same hours or.
You're okay with that limitation?
Yeah. I mean, you've got in here 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. We could be that specific, or we could say consistent with other similar properties. Consistent's probably better.
Consistent with other properties is fine with me.
Okay.
Motion to, yes, it is.
We have a motion to approve with one condition. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All right, it's approved. Let the record show that Commissioner Murphy is recusing himself for the following case. Our next case is case number 3088. Larry McAlexander has filed a request for a variance from section 4.9.9.1, additional parking for Pine Lake Church, property located at 5202 George Pat Patterson Parkway. Ben?
Properties over at Pat Patterson Parkway, right across the street from M-Trade. The applicant was approved to construct a church. They've constructed it, and they were granted a variance to allow for more parking because they had concerns for parking, and seems like rightfully so. They're now back before you with a request for a variance to allow for additional parking. The letter provided by Jody Smeltzer, he notes that in since February 2023, the congregation of Pine Lake has continued to steadily grow, in fact, significantly, and they note that approximately 2,000 people attended church service on a typical weekend, but this past Easter weekend, nearly 4,000 people attended one of their 4 services. Patrons typically or regularly use M-Trade Park parking spaces and then walk across the street to church. In fact, became so regular that Pine Lake Church actually acquired a golf cart to be able to shuttle people back and forth in hopes of some safety, providing a safe, accessible route to the church. However, it's created a conflict with the success of M-Trade Park, and nearly every weekend they have 100 to 200 teams that are there for soccer, baseball, softball tournaments, and they need as much parking as possible as well. And so sometimes the parking that is being used is unavailable. Also complicating the situation is being in a college town where you have students, where you have, that participate and go to church, they drive themselves. Unlike most communities where you have families that would ride together, you have a lot of maybe just one person that riding in their own car, and it's created its own set of challenge in being able to provide adequate parking. So Pine Lake is requesting a variance that would allow an additional 283 parking spaces. And staff believes that the applicant has sufficiently demonstrated the hardships that exist with the parking on this site, and the situation is unique enough that staff supports that request with the conditions noted in the staff report. And one thing we do want to note that this request would also include the road infrastructure that's included in this packet to be constructed with this. And in a conversation that we had prior to the meeting with Chairman Rigby and I were reviewing the cases, and one thing that we did note was that it appears that Street C, which is adjacent to the parking lot, it doesn't extend all the way to the to the property line, or at least to connect everything. I think that was the intent, but that might be something that the commission wants to consider as part of this request.
Thank you, Ben.
You bet.
And just to note, we did get one email about that road and the issues on Highway 314 coming from traffic pushing gravel and mud into the bike lane. So I think making sure that that gets paved all the way out to the highway would significantly help that problem. So that's this, yeah. And are there any questions from the commission? If the applicant could come forward, or the engineer, I just want to talk about that road for just a second.
Good evening, Joey Moore, JM Engineering.
Thank you, sir. Just a question, because we did get this concern from the public about the amount of gravel and mud that's in the bike lane. The bike lanes don't get swept. That's a big corridor for cyclists in the community.
Sure.
And so is there a way to get that portion paved sooner rather than later? Because there's gonna be a lot of traffic associated with building the parking lot extension.
I think you guys can ask them to do that. You know, that piece was approved with that Dyco site plan a few
Right.
months ago, and that's kind of on hold due to some cost issues. But if that needs to be a requirement for this, then
Okay. I
it's up to you
appreciate
guys,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Are there other questions for the applicant?
You know if the new parking is gonna be paved, or is it gonna be gravel similar to that other?
It'll all be paved, yeah. Curb and gutter paved. We're working on the lighting plan now, landscape plan, stuff, yeah.
Well, it's going to be an extension back here, it's all paved. All right, any questions or comments from the audience? If not, is there a motion from the commission on the variance?
I move to grant the variance for additional parking with the staff conditions and with the condition that it be paved from the existing gravel parking lot to 314.
And can I ask that we also put a condition that it be paid first, that portion that goes out to 314?
Sure.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right,
Thank you.
it's granted. Thanks, sir. And that brings us to our final case on the agenda, case number 3089. The City of Oxford, Mark Levy, has filed a request for variance from multiple subsections of 5.7 landscape standards for property located at 220 Washington Avenue.
The city returns to the commission seeking a variance from multiple elements of the proposed landscaping plan for the city pool as required by the Land Development Code. The property, as y'all are aware, is located in Washington Avenue. It's the current site of the city pool, and the city is in the design process to renovate the city pool facility. The design team intends to construct a new pool in the existing pool footprint and to demolish the existing buildings in order to construct a new building in the general vicinity. As a result of this plan and working with the existing site, the city is unable to provide 3 required frontage trees along Washington Avenue, a parking lot tree near the accessible spaces, and the evergreen shrubs in front of the retaining wall that exceeds 6 feet in height. The site will be planted with a robust landscaping package, but due to several constraints working with the existing site, these elements are not able to be incorporated by the design team. Staff recommends approval of the requested variance.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
Please let the record show that Commissioner Murphy has returned, even though I was going to give him the rest of the night off. Any questions on the variance?
Mark, when's the construction to begin? Any idea?
We're gonna open bids, I think May 28th. And so if they come in and budget, then we'll get approved first part of June, if we start middle of June. It's gonna have to be closed one full season because of the construction timeline. We plan to be open May of 2025.
Mark, we heard related cases last month, and we had some discussion about the retaining wall placement. Is this variance caused by the placement of the retaining wall so close to Washington?
Well, you've got a copy of the landscape plan. So section, what is it? 5.7.4.7 street tree requirement. We only have about 20 to 24 inches of green space between Washington Avenue and the sidewalk. Again, we were torn between moving the sidewalk to the wall or move it against the street, and we're trying to create some space from the street, between the street and the sidewalk. And we did that. We have a little green space, which we are going to landscape. Typically that would be for a street tree, but because it's only 20 inches wide and we're limited with how far we can move the wall south because of the pool deck, then there's just not large enough area to put a tree without causing some pretty major problems to the pool. I think that's the hardship here, is that we're working within this historic site that was developed before the Land Development Code was developed, and obviously trees and pools don't mix, and I do really worry about the infrastructure. If we have a pool with a canopy, or sorry, if we have a tree with a canopy that's over the pool, which is, that's the second variance, is the, the parking lot tree, which is 5.3.3.6, the end island. It requires an end island, which we have on the south side, but we don't have on the north side, again, because of the canopy would extend over the deck and then, potentially into the pool footprint. We only have 6 parking spaces, 3 of which are ADA. So some of those other parking requirements that you have to have 15, I believe 15 or more spaces, we don't apply here. And that's the way I read it, that there's no median bay required, it's just an end. Then you can probably speak to that, but that's the other variance. And then of course the retaining wall is 3.2.18.5 is, we do have a retaining wall, which we got approved for last time, that's gonna be over 6 feet tall. And again, the reason we have that wall is because we're trying to get as much space between the pool and create as much deck space as possible. Part of that code requires there to be some kind of evergreen planting below it, which takes the deck away. So it would, we're losing ground either way. So that's the third, and hopefully the last, that we're gonna have to make this site work. And again, it is important that we're not expanding. We're leaving the site undisturbed other than what's disturbed now, which I think is a good thing. And we are planting more trees than we currently have. So, and they're better trees. So I just want to note that as well.
Quick question, there's 2 water lines running down the street. So the one is the one that's close to the pool, is that a new water line or is that existing?
I'm pretty sure, Joseph, that's a 6-inch main line that's been there. We are going to tap off that, it looks like, for our meter. We're going to put a new meter in.
So if any maintenance needs to be done, I think probably a good time to do that. So it's just going to go, it looks like it cuts that corner, so it's going to be underneath all the retaining wall and all that stuff.
It doesn't quite go under the retaining wall the way I see it drawn.
Whatever the blue, I saw the blue. I'll look at that page.
I think the retaining wall.
This is
Landscape.
I may be missing it.
landscape.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess I'll just say, more of a note for the engineering, if it needs to be done, I think that's part of it.
Okay.
Other questions? It's the last case, we have plenty of time. Anyone from the audience? All right. Is there a motion on case number 3089 for the variances? Motion to approve, subject to staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, variance is granted. Any additional business, Ben?
That's all we have.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.